If you are stopped under suspicion of driving under the influence, law enforcement officers are obliged to investigate. That investigation includes asking you to consent to a field sobriety test. Are you required by law to comply? What happens if you refuse? What exactly is a field sobriety test anyway? Many people who are stopped for a DUI are unsure of what consequences might ensue if they refuse the tests involved. They may also wonder if there is a legitimate legal strategy in which non-compliance could potentially work in their favor. Below are some of the most common questions people have about whether or not they are allowed to refuse a field sobriety test in Arizona, and what happens if they do. In Arizona, you do not have to consent to a field sobriety test. You only need to give your name, proof of insurance, registration, and driver's license information. Any other questions asked of you can be met with a simple reply, "I have been advised not to answer." Always be polite and understand that anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. Refusing a field sobriety test does not automatically trigger the suspension of your driver's license, as it does when you refuse a chemical test. However, it will most often result in either the officer obtaining a search warrant or your arrest based on suspicion of driving under the influence. If your case goes to court, prosecutors will use your refusal against you, claiming the fact that you refused the test indicates that you feared failing it. You will also most likely be asked to submit to a chemical test. The most common chemical tests involve a breathalyzer or testing your blood or urine. Unless the law enforcement officer has your expressed consent, a search warrant, or a valid exception that applies, you may also refuse a chemical test. You should understand, however, that Arizona is an implied consent state. Even if you agreed to a field sobriety test and failed, the results can be challenged in court if the officer administered the test improperly. Any deviation from the standard protocol in any of the three tests can potentially result in having the case thrown out. Additionally, the results may be challenged if the defendant has mental or physical disabilities, was tested in bad weather, or took the test while wearing obstructive shoes, such as high heels. If you're facing charges relating to a DUI, you might want to understand Arizona's law and secure the right legal counsel to ensure a fair trial. Call the Phoenix DUI Lawyer criminal law team at 602-900-9891 to get expert-level legal help with your case.